guitar is way easier than a lot of folks will try to lead you to believe. And let me try to explain this. And the way I'm going to explain it is by saying, beginners, intermediates, advanced folks, the one thing you should learn first is modes. Now, if you've been flipping around the guitar channels, you've heard people talk about modes, and it's almost a mystical thing. And it's taught like it's a mystical thing, but it's not. And so, stay with me for a couple minutes and we'll just wipe away all the confusion of modes and show you why beginners especially should be learning modes right from the start. And here's the basic issue. When we talk about the guitar, it seems very complicated. 6 strings, bunches of frets. But in reality, there's only 12 notes. And we break the notes into a group of 8 we know as the major scale. And the major scale is the basis of at least Western music that we work from. And the major scale is the first mode. Gets a fancy name, the Ionian mode. Don't let that bother you. We're going to use this though to make all of the things that seem complicated seem really, really simple. We're going to work in C major, the key of C major. From my mindset, maybe your mindset, there is only the major keys. There's lots of them, but the great thing about the guitar is you only have to learn one pattern, one idea, and all the rest of the major scales follow. As an example, we're going to play in the key of C. There's a C note right there. Okay, and the major scale sounds like this. Now I'm playing the scale in a different way. A lot of folks don't play it this way. It's just on 2 strings. But now I'm going to play it in a way that a lot of folks really don't play this. We start with the same note, C. And then we're going to come back on top. Now this is the major scale in C, sounding a little different because we're playing the second half of it at a lower note. But let's just talk through the notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So this is just our major scale, the Ionian mode of the C, the key of C. Easy enough, right? Nothing to it, you already know that. And we can play the chords related to that scale. There's a C, D minor, E minor, the F, a little bit painful because it's a bar chord, G, A minor, B, the chord we don't use a lot, that's the B diminished, and then back to C. If we just practice that major scale, the Ionian mode, and its chords, we're going to be blisteringly fast in learning guitar. And really, focusing on the modes helps us a lot. Now you might say, what do I mean by the modes? Well, there's lots of modes. In fact, there's 7 modes, one for each of the notes we play. And each of those modes give a slightly different sound to the key of C. So let's look at the Dorian mode. That's the second mode, and we're still going to be in the key of C. We're only playing the notes in the key of C, which have no accidentals. They're nice and straightforward. So all I'm going to do is, instead of starting with the C note, I'm going to play my scale starting with the D note. And yes, I know this means you need to figure out what the notes are on the 2 strings or 3 strings. That's okay, I know you can do it. It's easy enough. We're going to go D, and remember, between E and F there is no space. So it goes D, E, F is here, then we go to G. We're going to come back to A, B, there's no space between B and C, and then up to D. Now, interestingly, I can play that with the lower register. I can go D, then come back here to A. That's the notes of our Dorian mode. Now, in the Dorian mode, I only play the same notes as in the key of C. The chords don't change. All we do is we'd start on the D minor shape, and we continue through with all the same chords in C. Isn't that easy? We don't have to learn any more chords. All we got to do is practice our 7 chords, 6 really if we ignore the diminished, and we just understand the notes change because of the mode we're playing in. Why do we want different modes? Well, different modes sound different. For instance, someone might say to you, well, what if we play in the key of A minor? Well, A minor is the relative minor of C. You play the same chords as C, but you would start playing a different note pattern sequence to get the minor key. So look at it this way. If I start with A and I want to play the minor form of C, it's going to go A, B, C, D. The same shape we used in Dorian. I'm going to come back here to E, F, G, A. And you notice we have a shape. We lost the symmetry. So we went A, B, C, D, very Dorian. But then we came here, and that's actually the Phrygian mode. But we're still only playing the notes in C. And we just built the A minor scale, the relative minor, the Aeolian mode of the C major scale. So we're still in the key of C, but now you've understood that we don't have to worry about learning major and minor scales. It's just a mode of its major scale. And so this is a really powerful connection to make. And remember, we're getting all kinds of different sounds out of the way we're putting our music together, but we haven't left the key of C. We're just working with the different modes in C to get our different sounds. So if you think of the Ionian mode as being the happy mode, the major scale, the Aeolian mode is the sad mode, the mode that's going to give us a sadder sound. And that is really all we're doing in music. We're trying to convey feelings, thoughts about music by the way we've put our sequence of notes together. Is it hard to learn the modes? The hardest thing is learning the names of the modes because they've picked older names from sort of Greek derivation. They're a little complicated, but once you see the pattern now, and I'll post the pattern so you can see the complete set, we're going to have the Ionian mode, the Dorian mode, the Phrygian mode, Lydian mode, Mixolydian mode, Aeolian mode, and the Locrian mode. It's just names. We don't have to worry. We can call them 1 to 6, 1 to 7 if we want to, and we do just fine. The trick to realizing is this is the core, the fundamental of music that opens all of the opportunities. Now you might say, well, what if I wanted to play the Dorian mode but with C as my starting point? Now, this is where we make life kind of complicated because we changed keys when we do that. And the effect of that is it's going to make us count the notes outside of the major key, but the pattern is the same. If you see this as C note, but we want to use the Dorian mode, we just follow the same pattern. And it's just the pattern, same pattern, we just changed where it was. And this is the power of the guitar. Once we learned a thing and it has a pattern, we just transpose the pattern wherever we want to use it, and we just keep on going. And so this is a very, very interesting sort of power in the guitar that we kind of hide from everyone until you've been playing long enough. And it is true, if you're trying to go through the standard training of music and the standard training of the guitar, there's a lot of things that you should be doing to learn it. But say you're like me, an older than average student. You don't want to spend 5 or 10 years learning stuff that maybe as a kid you'd be hard to make the leap to the other topics. The modes are the key. Whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced player, appreciating the modes is the first step in really opening up the guitar. And you don't have to learn every possible chord, every possible note combination. We can do it all from our key of C to get the idea and the patterns underneath our fingers, and then we can transpose them as we need for various songs to the things we want. Now, I find the modes fascinating. I've been looking at the modes for a long time. I've been baffled of it since I was a little kid learning the guitar. When I first learned the Phrygian mode of the C major scale, and you say, what? Yeah, that was the first thing they told us. Watch this scale. This is the Phrygian mode of the C major scale. And this confused confused me to no end because to me C starts on C and we would start on E. This is a C major scale. That's all the C major scale is, but we started it on the E, and this was one of the very first lessons. It's ingrained in my memory forever. And because no one would bother to explain how that evolved, I was always confused by how that scale works. So learning the modes, it's not something you're not doing. You start with the Ionian mode, and then you learn the Aeolian mode. All we're doing is putting the language of clarification in. I think this is a key that will help you unwrap the guitar and unwrap music.